Call the Board of Public Works to order of Monday, August 16th. Number 2, approval of minutes of August 2nd. Motion by Mr. Fire, second by Mr. Fisher. Comments, corrections, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Citizens' comments. We'll ask you if you have citizen comments, go up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Steve Liu. I reside at 1313 East 26th Street here in Marshfield. I had the opportunity this last weekend to be up in southern Price County with our side-by-side UTV and enjoying the weather. We enjoyed a 125-mile trip to Timsville, Price County, or in Price County, Prentice and Phillips, and was absolutely amazed at the number of people I saw and the groups of riders on the road. In the last several years, ATV and UTV business has exploded, especially in the last year and a half. With this comes great opportunities for businesses to provide services as food, fuel, and beverages. There's other communities in the area that have realized this and opened their streets and trails for year-round ATV use. At the current time, Marshfield is not connected to any of the surrounding areas that are open, such as Marathon and Clark County and the township of Lincoln. Surrounding villages and cities have opened their roads, Stratford, Spencer, Athens, as well as probably 90% of them north of Marathon County and Taylor County. I would like to see the city of Marshfield consider a plan to open streets for ATV, UTV use. Currently, we have no way of even getting to areas outside the city that are open. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Mandy Witt. I reside at 111729 Turtle Ridge Road in Marshfield. I am also the owner of Power Pack Inc., so I am here for a little bit of selfish reasons, but I also would like to just speak to the topic of ATV and UTV use on the roadways in the city of Marshfield on behalf of really all business owners in the area. We've seen UTV and ATV sales go through the roof in the last year and a half, as Steve alluded to. But the growth really started before that, from 2019 on, even before that. But in 2019 was the first year that side-by-side registrations surpassed motorcycle registrations in the US at 400,000. Since then, they've grown to about 650,000 just in that amount of time. So the industry is really booming, and it's time that we start catering to it. The counties surrounding us have opened, and what we need to do is become that pass-through opportunity. We might not be the destination for off-road use, but it would be great for people that want to use their ATV and UTV on roads here to be able to use it here and not spend their dollars elsewhere. There have been there's been a lot of research in other counties on what UTV tourism does for their areas. Jackson County was one. $9.2 million is what they found for non-resident riders. That's what they bring to the area. Another, Cheese County Trail in southern Wisconsin, granted they have a little bit more established trail system, but that brought in $15 million, and that's non-resident riders. So people that are passing through these areas are spending money. They're spending money at gas stations, at hotels, at shops, at bars and restaurants. It's the shot in the arm that some of these restaurants and bars that have been struggling, they could really use that. So just seeing this on the agenda is really exciting to me, both because I'm a power sports dealer owner, but also a business owner in general. And it shows that you guys are really looking for ways to bring dollars into our area and continue to move Marshfield forward. So thank you for putting it on the agenda. And I'm happy to be a resource if anyone ever needs it. But thank you, and we hope to see this move forward to the next step.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Scott Larson, Marshfield Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I'd like to echo what the two previous speakers talked about with the ATV, UTV trail talks. I applaud the city for bringing this topic up. It is an excellent opportunity for commercial development, revenues for our existing businesses, also revenue that can be generated for the communities that are involved in it as well. Wood County has continued to move forward in opening trails. That has corresponded with townships within the county opening up their town roads. And it's great to see that the city of Marshfield is considering doing similar work. As was noted, there is, again, great economic opportunity that can be gleaned from the opening and allowing of ATV traffic here. I think in particular, our hotels, our restaurants, our gas stations in particular would benefit greatly by it being a trail point that could be utilized. So again, as was mentioned by Mandy, I'm happy to be a resource with this regard to discussion on this topic. And again, thank you for bringing this topic up.
Thank you. Anybody else? Last call, anybody else? Okay. Number 4, construction updates presented by Chris Hawley, Street Superintendent, and Tom Churchy, City Engineer, and we'll go with Chris first.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to see a packed house tonight to come hear my construction update. First and foremost, I'd like to announce the Clean Sweep program again coming up August 28th in the town of Saratoga from 8 a.m. to noon. Like I said at the last meeting, this is rotated between town of Saratoga and the city of Marshfield every other year. So next year it'll be back in the city of Marshfield. And there'll be press releases and notifications prior to this on all of our platforms for the city of Marshfield. So just one last reminder, Clean Sweep, August 28th in the town of Saratoga Town Hall, and flyers will be out on the webpage, Facebook, and everywhere else. So notable accomplishments since we last met. Things are going really good. I feel really comfortable where we're sitting this year. Arlington, Lincoln to Cypress is completed with minor touch-ups needed. We did have 4 inches of rain last weekend, but luckily 0 phone calls. It was 4 inches of rain, but it lasted for 2 days, and it wasn't 4 inches of rain in 2 hours. So things went well. The same goes for Larch, 5th to Adler. All the shouldering's done there, just minor touch-ups. Adams, Upham to McMillan, and Briarwood, Lincoln to Schmidt. 3rd, Mulberry to Magnolia, and Magnolia 3rd to Larch. And 25th, Maple to Vine. All are fine graded, and structures such as water valves and manholes are going to be raised this week. And binder, or first lift of asphalt, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the term binder, is scheduled for this week. 4th, Columbus to cul-de-sac just needs to be fine graded and structures raised, and that will be ready for asphalt to be scheduled. Pine, 4th to 5th, the ditching and tiling's completed with black dirting and seeding scheduled for this week. And after that's done, we will lump that in with some fine grading and raising structures. The alley between Central, Maple, and Arnold and Blodgett is now completed. Harrison, east of Peach Cul-de-sac is also completed. Ash between Becker and Franklin is completed. Touch-ups will be done by the water department and their contractors who did the actual lateral replacements out there on that project. Laurel Court is it's Laurel off of Laurel Court, the cul-de-sac to the west or north, I'm not sure right now. The ditching and tiling is completed. Black dirt and seeding scheduled for this week, and with fine grading and structures being raised to be scheduled. Park and Clark, the water department is completed there last week. We Energies is scheduled for this week. And I didn't go by there today to see if they started. They figured they had about 3 weeks of work to do there, to do gas main and their services to each house. And then we'll follow up right behind them. It'll probably be our last project of the year. And then what else we got? It's been a busy 2 weeks. I'm sure everybody's wondering about this one. West McMillan, our work is finished out there. We finished it out last week. I'm happy to announce that it's scheduled for paving on Thursday and Friday. Cody Shanks and his crew did a great job out there, worked well coordinating the traffic control for Wisconsin Homes. Thursday and Friday was picked due to the incoming or outgoing of homes and incoming of the construction material. And their last home is going to leave early Thursday morning, and they only work half days on Friday. So we picked Thursday and Friday to do that project to minimize any conflict with Wisconsin Homes. Press releases went out last week, and we followed up with door hangers to notify the residents about parking for that Friday morning when we do that. So our process on Thursday will be to pave the south lane from Fig to Central. With that, we'll have to shut down Fig and Chestnut, the access out onto West McMillan. And then after the final lift is down, we have to let it cool down so we don't ruin the new pavement. And then early Friday morning, we'll come in and we'll open up Fig and Chestnut. And then we will switch over and do the north lane. And then painting will follow up after that. We're working on a crew right now to see if we can get in there over the weekend, but logistically, we're trying to find a crew that'll come in and paint that over the weekend. If not, it'll be opened up probably Tuesday evening. We'll paint Monday and Tuesday, and that project will be completed, which is a huge accomplishment for the people trying to get from the west to the east. I know when I travel on the west side and I try to get over to Walmart or Festival Foods, I go, oh, I can't go that way. So big accomplishment. Everybody's did a fantastic job out there. Some of the extras that we fit in, we did 1,600 feet of ditching and cleaning, new culvert sets on Salt Cherry out by Proshik, and ditching and new culvert sets on the 3,000 block of South Central. Concrete crew is catching up on miscellaneous catch basin repairs and sidewalk replacements. And one last thing that basically leaves us with the things that we haven't started yet would be 8th Street between Central and Cedar between 8th and 6th. And we are awaiting the contractor to do some sanitary work on that. And maybe Tom tonight, maybe not, we'll have an update on that. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions or comments for Chris? Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, Tom Churchy, City Engineer.
All right, to start out, the traffic signal interconnect project that was in the CIP for this year will be actually done next year. On July 19th, we were informed that this project was awarded an SISB transportation grant. The project was estimated at $99,022, and the grant award that we received for this project is $66,048. City's responsibility is $32,974. The funding allows us to begin spending money in 2022. This project has actually been in the books for more than 12 years on the capital improvement program and been pushed around for many, many years. And so it's finally coming to an end so that we can actually get a connection to our traffic signal. In August, this month's edition of the American Public Works Association Reporter, one of our civil engineering technicians was recognized for his participation as a stakeholder in the advancement of a civil public infrastructure exam and certification program. His picture is in the magazine twice this month, in the national magazine. And 2 weeks ago, the city installed its first audible pedestrian crosswalk signal due to a request by a visually impaired resident. These were installed at the intersection of 7th and Central, and I'll give a small presentation on that later on in this evening. The sanitary sewer contract 2021-02, which includes Blodgett Street, 8th Street, Cedar Avenue, and Lincoln Avenue. Our contractor has informed us he's looking to have a crew here Thursday of this week to begin that work. So that is what we've got at this time on that project. The city subdivision contract 2021-03, Earth Incorporated is on site today. They're stripping topsoil, and this project is underway. And the rest are just tidbits and stuff of other projects we were involved in. I won't go through all of them and try to save some time for other discussions today. So do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions or comments for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom. Number 5, discussion of the possibility of ATV routes on city streets. And I got to give an attaboy to Mr. Fisher. He's the one that asked for this to be put on the agenda. So, Mr. Fisher, take it away.
Well, actually, I'll give credit to Mr. Liu because Mr. Liu sent me an email requesting that I address this issue. So I did that. So he's actually the one who should get the credit. I will say this, though. I have always been very supportive of ATVs. Wood County, a few years ago, did open trails and connecting points for trail use. I was part of that discussion at Wood County, since I'm on the Wood County board as well. I've always been supportive. I think this is a discussion we need to have. And I'm glad to see that the public is here, because I think with a big change like this, we do need to have public input and really start to understand the pros and the cons. And I will say this, I think there are going to be pros and cons to whenever you open up city streets for ATV use. Overall, I think it's a good idea. What I'd like to do is, 1, get more public input, and 2, begin to, and again, this is just my personal opinion, but begin to start to look at what are other municipalities doing. I know people have mentioned Rylander. There's other cities in the state that are opening up their roads. How did they do it? And what is the safest way possible to do it? Because public safety, it would be my biggest concern. I think there's a lot of misconceptions, though, out there about public safety. But we do want people to be safe. And so I think getting more public input and also learning from other municipalities what they're doing would be a wise course of action.
Any people on the board have any comments? Mr. Rosendich.
I have 3 questions. I think that I hear a lot of the counties or places like Stratford, Spencer, but what are places like Stevens Point, Wausau, Wisconsin Rapids doing in these areas? And have they had trails opening up, and how do they do it? Just like talking about Anago and Rhinelander, which I believe are good communities, but they're also a little different than what, say, Marshfield might be. Also, when we're talking about opening up, what roads are we talking about allowing these UTV, ATVs on? I think it's important to know, if are we going to allow them down Central Avenue into our downtown district? I mean, to me, I don't know if we need in front of Krabby Dave's 6 or 7 ATVs, sitting. That's not necessarily what I would assume is a place that they're actually seeking out to go to. I would assume most of them are probably going to be a lot more outskirts area. But again, I think that's more of a community-driven question. And then how close are the current trails? I mean, how are we going to hook up? Where are those trails at? Where would they connect? And what parts of the community would they connect to? Those are 3 of the questions that I think I would have.
And those are good points. Those questions will be answered. Certainly, there's a lot of information to gather yet what other cities are doing. Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, I would like to, if I could, comment to some of those things that Alderman Rosendich brought up. Currently in Wood County, and I'm only going to speak for Wood County, when Wood County passed this, there was some initial opposition to it, but over time, the county began to see more pros than cons. There are trails throughout the county. When the county first opened up, I think it would be safe to say more of the south end of the county opened up much more quickly than the north end. So we saw townships, villages open up. I believe the city of Pittsville is completely open at this point. I believe the city of Nakusa is open. They actually had to work with the state to get the bridge to be opened up. So 2 cities currently, the city of Nakusa and Pittsville. Now, they are smaller cities. They are currently opened up. The city of Wisconsin Rapids, from my knowledge, is not opened up. And obviously the city of Marshfield is not opened up. Currently in Wood County, you can get from highways to other trails. Where the closest trail is, I can't tell you offhand where the closest trail is, but I believe there is a trail, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's even trails as close to Northwood County Park. Would that be correct? And obviously there's some trails around Pittsville because there's a lot of county-owned forest and land down there. Right now, it's my understanding the town of Lincoln is one of the only townships in the northern part of the county that is currently open. But I think you're honestly going to see, and over time, more and more townships probably go that direction. I know from the county, there's been a lot of discussion about people coming from Clark County into Wood County going to Clark County, Wood County going to Marathon County, and Marathon County going to Wood County. Marshfield is a very crucial point in, especially if you want to get from Marathon County into Wood County or vice versa, you're going to need Marshfield, or at least sections of Marshfield, open to connect. And I'm going to say this, I don't know if it's the best idea to open up every road, but I believe that we got to have the discussion about opening roads in order to make Marshfield a connecting point so that you can go from point A to point B to point C in the safest way possible. So I don't know if I answered all of your questions, but I did want to throw that out there. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go up to the podium, Steve, please.
Not to drag this out too long, but for the most part, to answer one of your questions, most state roads, numbered roads, are not open to ATV use. So no one could run down Central Avenue and out past the high school. No one could run out Highway 97 or 13 or 80 South. Those are closed. But what we're asking is, to get from point A to point B, so crossing. And they do allow you to cross highways. You could cross 97 out in Marathon County, but you can't run on the highway. So that would eliminate certainly a number of our major roads in town, which is very understandable.
Adam?
And just going off that, and I'm going to ask this, and I believe I know the answer, but I want to clarify. Isn't it true, Dan or Tom, or even Chris, if any of you know this, that part of the reason you can't travel on those state highways is because of the speed limit? I believe it has to be, is it 45 or 35 and below for ATVs to drive on?
I think Mr. Churchy, you alluded to that.
I am not sure. I was involved with the NEV ordinance that the city has that allows neighborhood electric vehicles. And the DOT has some specific requirements in order for that to be a ordinance so that we can continue receiving state highway funding for our municipal roads. So there's actually probably some contacts I'll be making with the state to see what kind of opportunities we have for them.
Yeah. And again, I could be wrong, but I do believe part of that is even I think on county highways that are 55 miles per hour, and again, don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but I believe depending on the speed, the ATVs cannot go on some of those roads without DOT approval, is my understanding. Again, I could be wrong, but that is my understanding.
Okay. Anybody else? Dan, Mr. Connect.
Thank you. I just sense that this is something we definitely want to pursue and study more. What would you like to be the next step would be my question.
Mr. Fisher?
Well, I'll go back to the two things I'd like to see. One, I'd like to see more public. So obviously we've gotten some today, but if we could post maybe again for a future meeting to see if more and more people would come and give us their feedback as constituents of the city, I think that would be helpful. Business owners, I know there are some ATV clubs in the county. I don't know if there's any necessarily in the Marshfield area, but if we could get some more feedback from the public, I think that would be helpful. And then The second thing I'd like to see personally would be minimal staff time. I don't want a lot of staff time, but minimal staff time to bring back some information on what other municipalities are doing, how many municipalities are doing it. We've mentioned a few, but what is going on in some of these other communities? That would be what I'd like to see.
Mr. Rosendich.
I'd like that further than just municipalities. I'd like it with 15,000 plus people.
Yeah, okay.
Not just smaller communities. And then also I'd like to know what roads are we talking about in Marshfield that would be accessible in that? And I'd like to see a map of that, but not just the names of them. And then I'd like to see how far away the closest trails are. I mean, if we're talking 10 miles, 12 miles, I mean, they got to get here somehow. And how are they going to do that?
We had some people out in the public here that were interested in helping out with some of that. So maybe we could use some of their knowledge. Mr. Larson would be certainly very good to help with that, I think. So go ahead. Mr.
Sorry,
Chairman.
just one last question is, do you want this discussion to continue at the Board of Public Works level, or is?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. But when we get more of the public here to get input, I think it's key to have a lot of these answers the questions that were presented here, so we know what we're talking about and so people can learn rules and regulations. Okay, thank you. Number 6, approval of quotation for roof replacement on the Parks Maintenance Building, presented by Ben Steinbach, Maintenance Supervisor.
Hi, everybody. Got a leaky roof at our maintenance shop, so I'm here to present options for us to replace the roof. In 2007, it was initially put on, and it's at a 10-year warranty. So that ended in 2017. Since then, we've had some leaks, did some in-house repairs. I had Yahtzee come 2 years ago to give me a price on replacing the roof, and it was more money than we had budgeted for. So we did a temporary repair and recommended a replacement. So I went and got three quotes for replacing the roof. One was by the initial installer, North Central Installation, and then Yahtzee Roofing and Mauer Roofing here in town. The low estimate was for North Central Installation at $22,486. And my recommendation is to award them the roof contract for that amount. The money for the project will come out of our CIP room tax dollars.
I would entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Fisher. Did I see you, Mr. Rosendich, second? Discussion. Mr. Rosendich.
I'd like to know what's the discrepancy of such a low quote compared to everybody else. I mean, that's more than half of what the next closest one is. I mean, great job, but
Yep.
let's go into that.
So there are really three different products. The North Central Installation was the original, and not the original, but what was replaced 15 years ago. And it's a spray-on material, which is same as what Yahtzee's would be. And Mauer Roofing was basically a whole reconstruct, tear off the roof, rebuild, and then put their product on. So that's why there's such a big difference. It's different products, so it's not apples to apples, but all three of them was a recommendation, and all three of them had at least a 10-year warranty. That was one thing I looked at too. Mauer's was a longer warranty, but it's 3 times the cost.
My next question, thank you.
Go ahead.
Would be is 15 years, it's only lasted since we replaced it the last time?
Yep, that's
Is that pretty common for that?
That's a 10-year warranty. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Number 7, report on installation of audible traffic signals at the intersection of Central Avenue and 7th Street, presented by Tom Turchi, City Engineer. Tom.
All right, we installed our first set of audible traffic signals at 7th and Central. We had a request for this specific intersection for the use that they had. The materials were ordered in February of this year, and we received and installed the equipment in mid-July. There's quite a lead time on getting any equipment, especially electronic equipment, for traffic signals, which we've seen with some of our other projects this summer. The cost to install these audible signals at the intersection of 7th and Central was $7,000. There's also an app that allows the pedestrian to activate the push buttons from a smartphone when approaching the intersection. I go through some of that. So this is what the new pedestrian button looks like. And have any volume on this machine? What I'm trying to show here is it is actually speaking to you. What it does is it'll tell you what direction starts the walk signal, and it'll also tell you when the walk is stopped, and it beeps a little bit louder for the as the flashing don't walk sign comes up, and then when it hits the full-blown don't walk and it's actually a little bit quieter. So it's a pending signal. You basically sweep your hand over the top of it or touch the button, and it activates the signal for that intersection. So what you have in the app is if you're approaching Central Avenue, it kind of tells you that. There's an app that uses GPS to show you your location. As you get closer to the intersection, it'll tell you basically which direction do you want to cross. You can actually push the button ahead of time by using the app. And then the button will tell you that it's been pressed, and then it's a way to cross, in this instance, Central Avenue. It'll tell you on your phone and when the walk light is on and when it's safe to cross. And then it does a countdown timer for you on your phone as it's counting down for the number of flashes before the don't walk cross comes back up. So I would say that if you want to hear it in person, I'd go out there and take a look at it and hit the button and see how it operates.
Questions? Mr. Rosendich.
Is that the only one in town that we have?
That is the only one in town, the only one we've had
Is
requested.
there other places like Point or Rapids that are using anything like this, or we want to?
There's other communities, and basically, like I've talked to the village of Stratford, they put one in based upon a request, and was actually, from what I understand, the same resident who used to live up there, moved down to Marshfield, and this resident is using this location. If we get requests for it, we take a look at the location and the use and go from there. To install them in every single intersection of the city, you're probably looking at about $195,000.
Oh, good job on this one.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Tom. Number 8, set date and time for first Board of Public Works meeting in September, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
With our next meeting following on the Labor Day holiday, we typically held that meeting on Tuesday evening. There's also the Finance Committee meeting that evening, and it's our turn to follow the Finance Committee. Last time we head of the Finance. So my recommendation is that you change your meeting time from Monday to Tuesday the 7th at 6 p.m. or immediately following the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee.
I have a motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Butke. Questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item, recommended items for future agendas. Mr. Rosendich.
Thank you. I received a call last week. It was kind of an interesting call because it's a problem that I always have. So I thought it was interesting from a resident that takes a lot of their compost and such and branches out to advanced disposal and the turnaround in that area. I don't know if anybody's actually used it. Has the city ever looked into adding an extra driveway and if it's possible on the Hume, so it's almost a circle? Or, you can come in and out on 18th Street, exit on the Hume, or vice versa, to make it a little easier, because people with trailers that get into that tight spot, I guess there's been some pretty, this was a police officer reached out to me, said there's been some pretty heated confrontations out there with that. And I don't know if that's probably private land or how that works, but if it's ever been looked at or considered to add an extra driveway into that area.
You want to look at that, Dan, or check on that, or maybe a brief comment?
Yeah, I'll just comment that the site is owned and managed by Advanced Disposal, so it's not a city site. They have been receptive to suggestions in the past on improvements, and in fact, we've helped them with some improvements and establishing a harder surface in some areas. So it's a discussion we can have with them. Ultimately, it'd be their decision on how to operate the site, but certainly can have that discussion with them.
Anybody else? Okay, motion to adjourn, Mr. Rosendich, second by Mr. Fire. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.